Parks.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. I rise to speak on the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act bill. Deputy Speaker, after having years to approach the matter of a much-needed overhaul of this Act, the EPCB Act, we're here in this place forced to deal with this extremely complex piece of reform in a pre-Christmas flurry. Perhaps the Albanese government is hoping that we don't have enough time to dissect the 1,500 pages to take a close look at the fine print. This is a piece of work Labor promised would be finished by the end of 2023. This shows a lack of respect from Labor, who first tabled these 7 bills separately to make up what is the revised EPCB Act. And then yesterday, when debate started, the first order for Labor was to gag debate and use their numbers to bundle all the bills together so we could have a debate faster. This is for no other reason than to rush this reform through by the end of the sitting week. This reform is far too important for all of Australians to rush. Even the Environmental Defender's Office, in a release less than a week ago, issued their first impressions, while their lawyers pored over the detail of the hundreds of pages. This is a very important act, an important impact eventually on all Australians, and it requires thorough examination. This should not be done at the end of years of delay in such a big hurry. One thing just about all stakeholders do agree, from the environmentalists to the developers, is that they do not like what they've seen in this piece of reform. Part of the concern is the amount of control that falls into the states and territories' hands. Through the net gain clause, along with the federal government, now the state and territory ministers can write their own increased cheques on the cost of biodiversity impacts. This will have devastating effects. How is it better, how is it cheaper, and how is it fairer? Deputy Speaker, how can anyone embarking on a development have any certainty about what they can or can't do when the rules change from case to case and from state to state? And let's get to the crux of another matter. How on earth are we able to measure and implement these increasing escalation of biodiversity offsets that would now be calculated by some mysterious formula called net gain? How can we debate the issue when we have no clarity on what net gain means? Net gain is a concept that will take more agricultural land out of food production and will cause biodiversity offset costs to skyrocket even further. We also have no clear definition on what makes up the unacceptable impact. And if we don't know that, how can developers, how are they able to go and work out what it is for them? The concept of national interest is another pitfall waiting for a shallow future to swallow a future of development that will never see the light of day due to these reforms. The Albanese government claimed they want to speed up approvals and get productivity moving. Deputy Speaker, we're going in the wrong direction. Nobody denies people are doing it tough right across regional Australia, particularly in my area of the seat of Parks. Our country is in a grip of cost of living crisis. We are in the grip of a housing crisis also. The Albanese Labor government has committed to address housing shortage by building new houses. The National Housing Accord target is 1.2 million new homes over 5 years. And yet, here we are, with the Labor government trying to dress up the unworkable act by not only failing to impress those who have environmental concerns, but also shackling developers even more. This is another move that is not cheaper, it's not better, and it's not fairer. Deputy Speaker, already across the Parks electorate I'm hearing horror stories of unwieldy monster that is called the Biodiversity Offset Scheme. Let me tell you a story of the Wilkenia Weir, the much delayed and very necessary piece of infrastructure needed to ensure the water supply of a remote town with a majority of Indigenous population. The new weir was originally costed and funded at $30 million back in 2022. Now, just 3 years on, The cost for that same year has blown out to over $100 million. And I'm advised that $17 million of that original price is going in biodiversity offsets. That's more than half of the original cost for that project. Again, not cheaper, not better, and certainly not fairer. And still nowhere. Here are some more eye-watering examples of the biodiversity offset scheme at work. These are projects that have not gone ahead or have been seriously downscaled, with the offset costs a major contributing factor. A new residential subdivision of 600 homes planned for Moree Plains Shire to capitalise on the Inland Rail project. This carried the biodiversity offset scheme price tag of $120 million. That is more than $90 million value of the entire project. Also in Moree, a 300-student agricultural college with an offset price tag of $3 to $5.5 million was stopped. Project was lost. A 40-bed residential subdivision planned for Armidale with a $3 million offset. The price was reduced down to 10 homes. The project to 10 homes. In the Parks Shire, 40 new homes attracted a $2 million biodiversity offset project, and that project didn't go ahead. In Tamworth, this is an extremely sad story in a housing crisis. A 46-lot residential estate lost because of a $16.2 million offset cost. A 96-lot residential subdivision lost for a $19 million offset cost. A 24-lot subdivision lost for a $3 million offset cost. A 50-lot subdivision north of Tamworth lost to a $6 million offset cost. A 28-lot subdivision lost for a $2.8 million offset cost. That's a total of 244 new homes lost to offset costs in the Tamworth area alone. And it will get worse under this revised Act because of the net gain clause. Where is the transparency behind this enormous offset price tag, and where is the cost to our housing, our jobs, our infrastructure and so much more? And where is the evidence of all of this wonderful environmental offset that have been paid for and by others, millions and billions of dollars, that have come out of the offset schemes right across our great country? So we have a government who is committed to approvals and committed to productivity, but who's taking the oversight of the scheme, and where the offset costs are sometimes higher than the value of the actual project. Something here doesn't add up. In addition, the Inland Rail, a critical driver for investment, growth and job creation, is facing an offset cost of $1.375 billion. Something's wrong. In Narromine Shire, a requirement to build a small part of a new road under the Newell Highway, disturbing a minimal 36 hectares, carried a $20 million offset cost that somehow was revised down to 10. There is a $500 million biodiversity offset on a project to raise Wyangla Dam, the wall of Wyangla Dam, to drought-proof and to flood-proof the whole of the Central West. That project is still under assessment. And the Transgrid project is still at $1.2 billion cost for biodiversity offsets for the Hume Link transmission line between Wagga and South Australia, a massive amount that will increase power costs even more. This change to the Act will not improve it, it will make it worse. There is not a matter of not caring about the environment. As I've said, there are voices from each side of the debate chiming in over these reforms. This is a case where reforms are long overdue. This is a complex case where reforms are being crammed through before Christmas. They have far-reaching implications on housing, on productivity, on the cost of living, on livability in regional Australia. More time, more consideration, more transparency is needed in this place. Better, cheaper, fairer. Labor proposed reforms for the EPBC Act will have long-lasting negative impacts if the Albanese government continues to ram these through this House. Deputy Speaker, these reforms are not better, than what we've got now, and they're certainly nowhere fairer.